What's going on, everyone? We are live to talk about that crazy double boot episode, and we are here with John. John, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing fine, Lauren. Like I said, it's a game, and you can't blame them for making the right move.
I gotta say, watching that blindside go down, you had no idea it was coming, and I just have to ask, did you really feel that comfortable within your tribe and thought you were running everything?
I wasn't naive enough to think I was running everything. I did think I had the relationships enough to know if my name was coming out. I've gotten a lot of flack for it, but yeah, Pook and I were incredibly close going into the game. We'd been talking about a month at that point. We gotten really close. He's a terrific person, a great friend, and I thought that relationship was going to help me prevent him from turning on me, but it didn't. And on top of that, because I live on the West Coast, all of our tribal councils and our challenges were right as I was getting off work. And the day I got voted out was one of the busiest days I had at work in several weeks. So I didn't have any chance to communicate with anyone from my tribe that day.
So do you think that played a big factor in it, or do you honestly think their minds were already made up before you did not even have the opportunity to talk to them at all that day?
I think, based on what I saw today, I think their minds were already made up at that point. I do, however, think that if I were to have gotten to talk with Pook at all, based strictly on how I know he reacted to my vote out, how I know he was incredibly emotional that day. He has told me, and other people have confirmed, he was crying all day. So I think if I had got into contact with him at all, I would have at least figured out something was going on and may have been able to flip it in my favor.
So why do you think Pook's biggest reason would have been for turning on you? You honestly said that you two thought you were ride or dies with each other, and it seemed like he had a really good rapport with you as well. So what do you think changed?
Nothing changed. It was Pook being Pook. Pook is one of the most paranoid players you will ever play this game with. And despite the fact that you could have complete trust in him, he is never going to have complete trust in you. And what it came down to with this was I was working against Pook's paranoia where everyone else could just feed into it. So I was pushing a rock uphill, got that nice Sisyphus task in front of me, and then all it took was one of the other four coming in to push me out of the way, and that boulder rolls all the way down the mountain.
Yeah, so we have a question here from Amber. Says, why would you think that? Did you not watch any of Pook's games?
I was well aware of what Pook could do going into games. I was under the impression Pook wanted to improve on his previous games.
So you think by working with you, that would have been an improvement?
I gave Pook a sound and logical mind to bounce ideas off. Pook's a very emotional player, and his paranoia is a very useful thing to have in the game because it does help you notice what's going on. The problem is he lets his paranoia run so rampant that he needs someone to pull him in there. I was under the impression I was the main person doing that, to later find out that it was actually Denny as well in that role. So we had two people doing it, and I guess he thought one of us was expendable.
So let's talk about Denny and Pook's relationship. In the game, did you know how close they really were to each other?
Not to the point where they were number ones. Not to the point where Denny was Pook's number one. Pook was never Denny's number one. But I guess that doesn't matter. You can vote out the person who's never going to write your name on a parchment instead, right? But no, Pook told us that he knew he could trust Denny, that him and Denny had been friends for a few months at this point, so they knew each other, and that's why we were able to have that control with her in that first vote. Obviously, Pook immediately picked Denny during the schoolyard pick there too. But then Denny picked me, right? So I knew that if Pook had confidence in Denny and was instilling that with me, he would be doing the same for me going towards Denny.
So was your true intention to always be ride or die with Pook? Because then we also saw you built that strong relationship with McKenna as well once you and her ended up on the same tribe together. So between the two of them, who would you have gone with?
Oh, Pook all the way. Mostly because I could just easily beat him in the final two. And that's what it comes down to is Pook. Pook's a great guy. He has a wandering mind, and I don't think he would be able to present himself well in a final tribal. And I was kind of going off that. But that being said, I knew it was also dangerous. I knew I was going to have a target going into this game. I knew that from conversations I had with specialists before the game, just like basic observational skills, because like I said, I did kind of get forced into this leader role. And when that happened, I mean, it was a scary thing to do. So I knew I needed to take risks in this game. I knew I had to take strong people with me to the end in order to diffuse my target. So having someone like Pook, who has this personal relationship with other people in the game already, has this history of being this erratic player that people don't want to work with, he was a good person to have because A, it gave me a solid person who most other people would be wary of aligning with and couldn't get as close to. And B, it gave me someone else to deflect things to if necessary.
Yeah, so also we saw in this episode too that there was some confessionals about potentially McKenna being a target as well. And McKenna also turned on you and voted you out. If you were approached by Pook and Denny to go after McKenna, would you have voted McKenna out?
So here's the thing. Before the game, about an hour before we started, Pook and I were talking, and I literally said, hey, McKenna's an incredibly smart and intelligent player. We need to get her out as early as possible. And that was before the tribe swap, before anything, when we thought it was still going to be specialist versus TRHS. It was like, McKenna, big threat, someone who can win this game. We have to be wary of her. Obviously, switch into a tribe where that situation then benefits me, because now McKenna and I are very similar in our threat level in the game. We're both very logical people. We both think through things in a similar process, which was what was great for working with her. And having her there lessened my threat level because her threat level was also on par with mine. So if Pook came to me and said, hey, we should vote out McKenna, I would have to incredibly think it through. But in the end, you have to do what's best for you in the game. And if it's a decision between McKenna or myself, then yeah, obviously I'm going to choose myself.
Yeah, but at that point, you wouldn't have necessarily thought it was between you. It would have been between potentially her and Andrew.
True. Going into that vote, I was a big proponent for pushing Andrew's name out there because I was worried that if we mentioned anyone else on the tribe who had a higher threat level than Andrew, that it would then come back on me. Now, egg on my face because it came back on me anyways, but that was my thought process going into that was, hey, don't mention other big targets because if they do, they're going to start thinking of big targets.
So I want to kind of jump around a little bit because obviously got your takes on how that vote in particular went down. So my next question is, I want to talk about when it was 5v5, TRHS versus the specialists. If anyone from the TRHS side came to you, would you have potentially ever flipped, or were you always going to be the specialist strong?
It had to be the right situation. And in this particular game, the way it was going, it was never going to be the right situation because Christian did not talk enough. So I would never be convinced that, yeah, the six of us could be strong together because I would always have that wary thought that Christian is just this non-factor in the game, which is a very dangerous thing to be working with.
So basically, it's all Christian's fault for why TRHS kind of went down because he didn't communicate with everyone, so then you wouldn't feel comfortable enough to be able to flip to the TRHS side. Is that what I'm hearing?
Potentially. I think another thing is like my relationship with Pook was so close that they would, if Joe, Karen, Denny, and Ben came to Pook and myself and said, hey, we're dropping Christian, get him gone, and the 6 of us work together, I think that could have worked. But it's probably the only situation where it would have worked.
Right. Okay. So my next question is, I want to talk about a couple of these challenges.
Mm-hmm.
So prior to challenges happening, obviously your tribe was going through different strategies and scenarios of who to place where. Ultimately, it never seemed to work out for you guys. In your opinion on particular challenges, are there any people you should have put in different places?
With the first challenge, I mean, we've talked about the first challenge ad nauseum at this point. Ben, the reason Ben wasn't in anyone's mouth coming out of that, because he did put himself in this savior spot, right? Andrew was originally supposed to do that part of the challenge. And as we were preparing and everything, Andrew's like, I can't do this. So Ben stood up, took that position. Karen and I were kind of handicapped at that point because neither of us received our box of materials for the challenges. So we had to be on the puzzle there. So maybe we should have put Phil there, but we also knew Phil is really excellent at puzzles and stuff like that. So that first challenge, it was kind of a toss-up. Maybe Andrew would have done better than Ben. We don't know. But I think we did the best with what we could work with. The Flip Cup challenge, Karen anchored us in that challenge. We kept her going. And I think she was exactly right when she was saying the other day that she should have been the person who was there doing the double flips earlier in it. And that could have made it so we didn't lose that lead that we had. And we have the third challenge.
Let's talk about the blindfold challenge. And all I got to say is y'all know how much I did love your tribe. I was wanting you to pull through. But, man, I was cringing with some of the decisions that were happening, especially in the breakout room with the planning on who to go where. But let's talk about the blindfold challenge. You guys come up with this strategy where you're going to have 2 people at the same time showing cards where you're going to say yes, no, yes, no. Do you think it made it too confusing, especially with hearing at the same time the other tribe's caller explaining to their people what they needed to do?
So I'm actually going to correct you there because the original idea was that we were kind of going to go cyclical, but then and go all 4 of them showing a card at a time waiting for me to respond to them. That obviously didn't work. We changed that immediately because A, it was really hard to track people on Zoom, and B, we just weren't getting it done fast enough. So I wanted to go to the same strategy Logan was using, but at this point we were behind in the challenge, so I had to do 2 at a time. And I don't think it was the wrong decision because we did manage to catch up quite a bit there. And I don't think it was that confusing because I was saying their names as I was addressing them. So that worked out. We just kind of got into an awkward situation where some unforeseen circumstances prevented us from being able to win.
So with you being the caller, how frustrating was it for you just to see the train wreck that was occurring during that challenge? I mean, and then finding out everything that went down with Andrew, with him having 2 cards slide underneath his computer. Did you not catch that at all, or how did that even happen?
No, because I think it happened when he initially shuffled up his cards while we were in the breakout room. So I wasn't really paying attention to his screen at that time. So it was one of those things that is like, of all the 2 cards that went under his computer, it happened to be 2 in the suit that we were sorting for him, right? It was just kind of this like perfect storm of a mess that we couldn't deal with. And it's really funny because there was actually a point in that challenge where I was alternating between Andrew and Denny. And Andrew was showing the cards in the suit that I was sorting for Denny, and Denny was showing the cards in the suit I was sorting for Andrew. And I honestly contemplated switching suits at that point because neither of them were that far into it. And I was like, no, bad idea. Keep with what you're doing. But had I done that, we might have been able to get back in that challenge.
So I'm going to pull up this comment here from Ben. He said, I probably should have demanded the collar in my spot, but John seemed really sharp and decisive. I thought he could do it.
We almost got there.
So were you set in stone as the caller right away? It was no question?
I was really ready to do whatever anyone wanted me to do. I was more than willing to be the caller. Again, I often find myself in one of those more leadership roles. It's been a thing throughout my entire life. I find myself in that role. So when people are like, hey, John, step up, take this, I'm like, okay, I'll do it. But if somebody else had said, hey, I want to be caller, I've been like, sure, go for it.
All right, so we talked about some of the challenges. The other thing I want to hit on a little bit is pregame alliances before the game started and then the shakeup that happened. Because obviously you thought that you had a strong group solidified, but really there was also another group of 6 that was solidified from the specialist end. So give me your thoughts on that.
So, awkward thing with the pregame is I went on a camping trip during the middle of it. So there was a week where I couldn't communicate with anyone. And it was actually the week before the game was supposed to start. Then I get back from that camping trip. It's like, oh, the week's been postponed, or the game's been postponed a week. I'm like, oh, good. I can actually pregame now. And my approach going into the pregame was I don't want to seem too aggressive with everyone. So I slowly started talking to some people. I had an idea of who I wanted to work with. Did I think it was a strong alliance? No. Did I think it was the type of alliance that would get me through a vote or two so that I could establish better relationships with people? Yes. And that's just really what it came down to. I knew I had Pook. I was one of the only specialists talking to Frank in the pregame, but I also knew Frank was going to be a big target from everyone else. So I wasn't sure how that would play out if we were in that situation. Luckily, I didn't have to find out.
So when we did throw that crazy twist on you guys, your tribe actually had to go through a revote. So originally you were targeting Andrew, correct?
That's correct, yeah.
That is correct. So then you see everyone flip their votes right on Frank. Did you flip your vote because you were scared about what could happen if there was another tie?
Nope. I didn't change my vote. I kept with Andrew.
You stuck with Andrew?
I did. And that was because there were 2 reasons. A, Andrew, like we've, I guess none of the specialists have been on here and said this yet, but Andrew spoke with us, but he wasn't as frequently in our discussions. So he was kind of in that like Christian role on the specialist, more involved than Christian from the sounds of it, but in that role. So nobody really had a connection with Andrew at that point. Whereas Frank, like I said, I did kind of have that relationship building with him. But also, I didn't think we were actually voting someone out there. I didn't think we were automatically sending someone home. And I didn't want to give Frank an advantage in the game.
So you were thinking ahead a little bit there with kind of what was happening with that twist then?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because we noticed with a couple people that their wheels were spinning and they weren't sure completely what to do. But that's interesting to hear that you were thinking ahead on what could have potentially gone through with that. So I kind of want to talk about Andrew then, since you did bring him up. So he ended up on a tribe with you. What was your relationship with Andrew? Because we see Andrew, he's kind of there with the group, kind of not. He's surviving votes. Where is his head at, and where are you at with him?
With Andrew was a great guy, incredibly loyal. There was no question about it. Andrew was not flipping on the specialist at all. I was able to build a bit of a relationship with Andrew, but not as close as I did get to other players. Definitely not as close as I got to Pook. Nowhere near as close as I got to McKenna. Not even as close as I got to Denny. And Phil and I didn't talk much in the game, but Phil and I still talked more than Andrew and I talked. So we were very friendly with each other. We were often on the same page, but we didn't talk excessively like I did with some other players.
So within your tribe of Miamia, you say Pook was your number 1. You would have taken him to the end. Did you have a final 3? Did you have a final 4 solidified?
we're hitting on some of my weaknesses in the game here, Lauren. I never vocalized my intent on how far to take some people in this game. One of the big mistakes I made, there are certain players in this game who are smart. Someone like McKenna. McKenna's a very smart player. I can't possibly say, hey, McKenna, I want to take you to Final 3. And she's never going to believe me. She'll be like, John, you're pulling my leg. You're just dishing it here. You're not going to take me to Final 3. You're going to view me as a threat and cut me before that. But had I said, hey, McKenna, we should work with each other until Final 6, Final 5, and then we can start going at each other, that probably would have solidified that relationship even more and made it a lot better for us to work together, and probably made it so I didn't get voted out in this way.
Yeah, so you think that kind of hurt your game with not, because my whole perspective of it is you have to at least have those conversations with people, because if you're not having those conversations with people, they're having it with somebody else. So I feel as though, do you think it would have helped your game more if you had concrete, hey, this is a 3, this is the 4?
I think my biggest mistake in this game was overestimating the intelligence of the people I was working with and overestimating their ability to pick up on nuances that I had picked up on without having to vocalize them. And yeah, having those conversations might have helped me more. But at that point, when you're in a pre-merge situation, I don't think you want to be so precise as to say, hey, the 4 of us are going all the way. I think you need to be more fluid than that. And I really did go into this not wanting to lie excessively. I mean, obviously I did lie. I had to lie. It's Survivor. You obviously have to lie, and you have to enjoy the lying, because if you're not taking enjoyment of it, why are you playing the game? But I didn't want to put too many lies out there so that they fell back on me.
Yeah, so you were kind of playing a juggling. You were juggling everything that was trying to go on, because as you just said, you didn't want to lie too much, but you also know that you have to deceive a little bit in this game to be able to make it far.
Absolutely. I mean, I worked really hard. I do think I built a fairly good relationship with Karen, which is why she was so caught off guard by that, the blind side of her. I did work and at that point I was working on Ben as well, because I wanted to keep my options open, just in case there was an opportunity, just in case there was a swap and I had to work with these people. So I was keeping the lines of communication open with them and trying to see how they would play. And I honestly thought from a position in the bottom, they would try throwing more out than what they did. And when they weren't, it made me think, I don't think I can work with them, and I kind of have to stick with this status quo that we have going.
So Denny said this comment, but I thought you were the villain, John.
I mean, Phil Wood's been saying it all week. I'm too nice to actually be a villain.
Yeah, I will say you did have some villainous confessionals, and you definitely were able to articulate what was going on specifically in the game. So your confessionals were very, very well delivered. But I think on some of them, it showed how much you didn't know necessarily what was happening, especially with your vote off.
Yeah, and like I said, again, that comes from not being able to communicate with everyone, right? If I had the chance, I am very convinced that if I had the chance to find out what was going on from Pook, I might have been able to flip that vote, because all I had to do was work on Pook. Pook had Denny and had Andrew at that point, so I would have been safe if I had found out. I just didn't get the chance to talk.
So I have another question for you, and that is there anyone that you voted out prior to yourself going home that you believe actually could have helped you out in the game better?
After seeing these first couple episodes, I should have kept Karen in the game. I should have kept Karen. McKenna and I should have left that option for us. And who knows? Maybe it gets us further in the game. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe we just have to cut her the next vote. But at least it gave us the option, and we just cut out an option that we should have kept there.
See, it comes back to everyone saying you got to trust Karen, and then everyone lets her go, right?
We were scared. We were honestly scared of the relationship she might have with people on the other side. Part of the reason why we went after Joe first was his relationship with Karen. And then Karen also has a relationship with Rob because they were both in the last game together. They played together on the same starting tribes. So we knew that pre-existing relationship was there. So it was something we were wary of. And then Denny really played up that all-women's alliance. And I'm sitting in a call with my 2 female alliance members, and they're talking about an all-women's alliance. It's like, I can't let that happen because I'm not a woman.
Yeah, McKenna says I agree about Karen. So my other question to you is also for some on the Nakota tribe. Is there anyone over there that you specifically wanted to work with in the game that you had no opportunity to work with?
In game, I did really want to work with Ian. The little bit of pregame that we did get a chance to do, he did seem like someone I could work with. Obviously, he was thinking of that in some capacity just because he was like, yeah, I totally want to be in this other 6 from this other 6 that I'm with and keep my options open, right? After the game, I think Jeremy and I would have worked really well together. I've recently gotten to know Logan more, and I would have loved to have worked with him a bit. And I think Corey and I also could have worked really well together. But I just never had the opportunity to.
Right. All right. So kind of to end on this note, 1, would you play again? And 2, what do you need to do differently if you do play again?
Absolutely, I'd play again. I had a ton of fun. I have met incredible people because of this. And I wouldn't trade my time on the island for anything. And I'd love to go out there and do it again because I have a starting point now, right? I went in not knowing how well I would do. Now I do have an idea. Now it's the only time to improve, right? Adjustments to my game. I need to be... It's going to sound weird, but I need to be more aggressive. I was not aggressive enough in this game. Despite the fact that people did say I was being aggressive, I was not being anywhere near as aggressive as I could have been. And it wasn't as forward, right? I need to go in underestimating some of the people I'm working with to the point where it's like, I need to spell out everything I am thinking to you just to make sure we're on the same page. So I'm going to go out next time. I'm just going to talk to people and I'm going to tell them, hey, we can get this far together. This is why I'm valuable to you. So someone like on our tribe, right? We saw that conversation, we saw me talking earlier about how Denny's playing the best game out there. And by God, was she playing the best game out there at this point? And I did have that conversation with McKenna. I had that conversation with Phil. Of course, Denny won immunity that night, so we couldn't do anything about it. But I think I needed to talk to McKenna more and be like, hey, we're equal threats. We lower each other's threat level by both being here. So that's the approach I need to take for the next game, is keeping the strongest people around all the time and just cutting those weaker players out right away.
Well, I do hope you have the opportunity to play again. I know that you were really disappointed that you went out so early. So hopefully you get the chance to show people what you're truly capable of, John. And I appreciate you joining me. John is going to leave the interview now, and I'm going to bring in the next person to conduct the second exit interview. And we do have some special guests for that interview. But John, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Lauren.
All right, you take care, John.
You too.
Yo.
All right, we have Ryan joining us for this next exit interview.
Am I a special guest, or was I just lazy for the first one?
You're always a special guest. No. All right. We're also going to bring in Sam here, who was the other person voted out. And then I have one more special guest that we're going to bring on for tonight.
Corey.
And that is, well, Joe just exited himself out.
Just thought it was Sam and just booked it. Like, fuck him.
Sam probably just zapped him out of the room. Sam didn't want Joe in here, so he just.
I mean, I thought Corey liked me, so maybe Joe doesn't like me.
There he is.
Sorry about that. Long time no see.
Hey, Joe.
How's it going?
It's going, man.
Surprise, surprise.
All right, can we start with that? I don't know what you got planned, Warren. What is the Mr. Nice Guy thing?
It's just my name. I'm always Mr. Nice Guy in whatever I do, really. It's just kind of what I call myself. But I look kind of stupid calling myself Mr. Nice Guy and then just getting voted out 9-1. I mean, maybe my cockiness kind of came back and got me there. I don't know.
Yeah, so Sam, I definitely have to talk to you about your dude a little bit real quick. I asked you on Tribal Council about your connections with your tribe mates and everything. And your answer, you thought that you had great connections with everyone. Turns out you didn't. And I know you probably saw what people said about you when they voted you out. What are your thoughts on that?
Actually, I haven't seen what people have said just yet. I will get to that. However, I can assume what they probably said. The connection, I mean, I assumed it was there. I kind of felt like it was more of a numbers thing where TRHS kind of needed me and I was just going to coast along there, but I was definitely wrong. I mean, what can you do? I didn't put the effort in I needed, I don't think, to really communicate and make connections with anyone. I mean, I would wake up and I would have, 7, 8 messages from Corey. I thought we were connecting there. I thought he was like, just stay on my side. We got this. And he just totally played me, which is fine. I mean, I'm an honest guy. I'm a nice guy, Mr. Nice Guy. So I got schooled for sure. I haven't talked to Corey yet, but I look forward to that day.
All right, I have to bring up one thing, and let's talk about the blindfold challenge, my man, Sam. Listen, you do the challenge, you finish your part, and then you step away and go start chilling on the couch. You don't even turn off your camera. Do you think that instantly turns some of your tribe mates off?
I mean, that's just who I am. Wasn't that into the whole thing like the others, which I mean, I should have been going into it. I just from the beginning, I was my true self, and I mean that's basically kind of me. I did my part and moved on. So I don't mean to sound like a jerk to everyone, but that's probably why I was voted off. It's just I wasn't as into it as everyone else, but it was a fun time. Corey is a fraud, though.
I will say one of the funniest moments of the season thus far is the cat coming into the frame. That was my favorite part so far of the season. So I do appreciate you for giving us that.
Anytime. They're good guys.
So I want to kind of bring in Joe here with this. You two obviously were representing TRHS for the season. Did y'all have any connection with each other pregame that you guys were able to talk at all?
I can start. So actually, I do have a question, Sam. So we start the game. We know the cast. We send messages to literally everybody. So I send a message to literally everyone on our tribe, and then conversations just spark. So I start my conversation with you, and then you tell me, oh, you've played a few RGs, this, that, and the other. I'm like, oh, great. Maybe we can work together or something like that. And then just the conversation stopped. What happened there? And I heard that was a common theme with a lot of people that on our group. Like, what happened there? Was there just not a lot of time on your end? Or
yeah, I mean, basically, I have a life. And I just
see that's something I don't have, so I would say that.
I know. I mean, I really appreciate everyone, putting in all hard work, but I had to do other things. I couldn't 24/7 be on it. But this is a great show, great page, and I do respect all you who put all your blood, sweat, and tears into it. But yeah, basically, I answered. I said, "Hey, what's going on? Look forward to the season," but I can't, I didn't have the time really to chat with every single one of you. that's why I'm out. But but then I did get further than you.
Absolutely, you did.
But honestly, you were my favorite. I was looking to work with you, and then
a lot of people.
You would probably have voted me out just like Corey. I would love to see how far Corey actually gets.
Well, here's the deal, Sam. You were not the first person on my mind to vote out, so yeah. So
this is unedited, people.
This is great. Okay, so Sam, you obviously said you were betrayed the most by Corey in your mind. Who else did you feel that you thought you had a strong connection with?
I mean, really, I probably am just singling out Corey because he's like the only one I had a connection with. I mean, I guess in the back of my mind, I always knew maybe I would be an easy target just because I didn't talk to others much. The main part I really knew where I thought, wow, I could be screwed is when you asked everyone, like, why did you vote this person out before we knew it was going to be 9-1 against me? And Jeremy said this guy didn't communicate much. I really didn't get to know him at all. And that was kind of like for everyone, really. I mean, I talked to Corey. I kind of just trusted him, was hoping. He was saying basically it's going to be a numbers game. And I was like, yeah, I mean, technically after Frank got, dissed right at the beginning there, it does seem like it could be a numbers game. So I just trusted that and was hoping that would work out. And it definitely didn't. But I look forward to watching and seeing what they actually said.
Yes, you do need to watch what people said when they voted you out. But
they probably were just like, this dude is so cocky. I just hate his attitude. He doesn't even talk to us. So, I mean, that's fine.
Hey, it could be worse. It could be worse.
Yeah. So, Sam, is there anything else you thought you could have done better? I mean, it sounds like you just didn't fully understand how much of a commitment it was going to be. Did you know it was going to be that many hours long and that you were going to constantly have to be on Zooms with people? Or what did you think coming into the game it was going to be like?
I mean, I knew there would be the challenges and then maybe making relationships with people and a strategy. But I didn't think there would be a Zoom call after the Zoom call after the Zoom call. Like, hey, let's do a tribal council and then let's get together just us 5 and then us 2. And then let's just, I didn't know it was going to be that intense. But I mean, props to whoever does win this. That's definitely cool. But yeah, I had no chance.
Would you ever play again?
Maybe if I quit my job, maybe broke up with my girlfriend and had time, that could be a possibility.
That's the life. Like, why do anything else? You know what I mean?
I mean,
play orgs all the time. Exactly.
I don't know. I probably not. I do appreciate being in it, but like I said, I don't think there's better contestants and participants out there who, live and breathe this stuff.
So, based on everything that's happened so far, I'm not sure everything that you watched. What are your predictions moving forward?
Well, Corey definitely didn't win. I know that. I'd probably someone from the specialist won for sure. I mean, I'd be shocked if. And there probably was a mix-up of tribal members. I mean, or tribes and all that. But really, I would probably predict that one of the girls on the specialist won, I would say. I don't remember all the names specifically, but that's what I would say.
Joe, I know
what were the names of the girls?
On the specialist tribe? Yeah. You had Morgan.
I would say Morgan won. She stuck out to me that she could possibly take it, had the teams. Is this the Star Cat or was it the orange one?
It was the orange one, and everyone wants to know the cat's name. So
that's Leo. This one's Finn. This is the star of the show right here.
That is the star right there.
What's up,
there
buddy?
It is.
There he is. He's a good guy, but yeah. I'm going to say Morgan wins it all is my prediction.
Okay.
I mean, how they all voted Frank out. Like, unless that was like a prior strategy, he couldn't have made it that far. I don't know.
So I know Joe had another question for you, so I'll let Joe kind of chime in here.
Yeah. So, what were your thoughts when you got that initial 5-5 split? So you were put on the new tribe. Did you feel any better or any worse?
I felt better because I felt like it was. I felt like basically, since I didn't make any connections for that 3-week pregame, it didn't really matter. I knew it could matter down the road, but I was kind of just thinking how I could get by each vote. And I thought maybe I could just start the connections right away, which I never actually did. I mean, I talked a little bit to people and tried to get on the Zoom calls, but yeah, I mean, overall, that's all I have to say, really.
And my last question would be: is who has surprised you most in this game that you just didn't anticipate would either be doing big moves or somebody didn't play well or something their confessionals aren't who they appear to be? Who surprised you the most?
I mean, I thought Corey and I were going to get beers together, have a good time. Like, he was my bro, but just stabbed in the back. But then again, I was an easy target. I'm going to just go with, I was the biggest threat. But apparently it could be, it's probably, I don't know. I was definitely shocked by the 9-1 vote, but whatever. What about you? I mean, you were voted off first, weren't you?
To tell you what, I was pretty shocked. Well, I wasn't shocked because I knew I was getting votes. I knew I was having at least 5 votes. But yeah, I thought I did better. Let's just put it that way. And it is what it is. I'm not.
What were the total votes for you?
What'd you say?
What was the total vote count for you
6-4.
when you were out? 6-4.
Yep. So,
Sam, I do have another question for you.
Hit me.
How good of burgers do you make on a scale of 1 to 10? This is very important to Logan.
I mean, I'm a fantastic cook. I'd say very, very good. I mean, I don't know if this is a trick joke or what. Like, what the hell? What do you mean? What is my burger? How good of burgers do I make? Was I making a burger during one of the episodes or something? What do you mean? What does this question mean?
I needs to chime in and clarify there, but that was really important for him to ask you that question.
I'm not answering it.
You don't have to answer it. I love this. This is great. This is all live, people. It's wonderful. So, Sam, if you do play this game again, what the heck would you do differently?
I have no idea. No idea. I just don't think I could because I don't have the time to play it. Like, I cannot win with my lifestyle right now because I just don't have the time to talk to everyone and come up with a strategy and I can't do it. So I probably won't play again. But if I had to come up, what would I change? I mean, I don't know, talk to people more and pregame. I mean, I didn't do any of that, put some more effort into communicating with everyone, I guess.
I'm going to say something right now because I've read a lot of these comments from some people, and most of them are very incorrect and inaccurate. Sam's one of many people that did not have time to play this game and didn't foresee it, right? A lot of people, even the first season, the NSFW season, right? The 2 or 3 of the first 4 people voted themselves out because they realized they didn't have time to play. All right?
Yeah, just in case.
Sam didn't vote himself out, right? So I'm going to defend him here, okay? A lot of people, even Ashley, who won the first season, did not have the time to do it. Somehow she still won, so I'll give her credit for that. She didn't put as much time as most people, but she still won. So, I'll defend Sam in the fact that he doesn't have time. That's not a cop-out. That is a legitimate thing. I don't have time to do it. I couldn't play. I can host.
Honestly, I just clicked on the comment section, and this is fantastic. We might have to keep this running for a while. I got to read all this. Oh, my Lord.
It is
I didn't mean to offend anyone by saying I have a life, but really, I don't have the time to.
No, I'm not going to truly defend Sam because there is things like during the challenge, the leaving while your team.
That was bad.
That's bad. While your team's still playing, you went and watched TV or whatever while they were doing it. But I understand not being on a Zoom till 3 a.m. Like I would never do that either. So, it's kind of a balance, I guess you will. But I don't know. I don't knock anybody for not being able to commit 10 hours a day to talk to people.
This is one of the hardest things to do because you just got to. It's like a part-time job.
And many people have said, I know there's like different confessionals in the first season, the second season. People have said like the difference between and Russell did the exit interviews last season. He'd be talking about, it's different when you're out on the island and you're cold and you're in freezing and stuff. And a lot of people said like, I'd rather do that than having to balance a marriage, a job, and kids and shit. Like it's a lot, you don't have your full attention to it,
Plus, you're not getting paid to do this either. So
no, you're not.
It's like I'm working a job for free, So.
Well, that just shows the amount of time that people are willing to spend on this game, how much of fans you are of Survivor. I mean, I wanted to play because I would hope to be on Survivor one day, but this is the next best thing. So when I signed up for it, I was going to give it my all, no matter how many hours I was still working my job because it meant a lot to me. But that's not the case for everyone. So it's a balance, and it's get out as much as you put in.
But also, Lauren, you don't sleep anyway, so it's perfect for you. So.
That is
Joe. I'm sorry I wasn't asked to you. Amber's really.
Oh no, you weren't asked to me at all. Are you kidding me, Sam?
Amber, who's Amber T?
No.
Who is Amber T?
No. What'd you say?
Who is Amber T?
Amber played the first season.
Isn't that Amber from?
Yeah,
I didn't mean to sound rude to you, Joe.
Oh no. Yeah,
I'm reading these comments and now I'm like,
oh no. Trust me. Sam, we're cool.
I don't know who. I don't know who
off first anyway. So we're cool. So yeah.
Okay. Any more questions?
Amber, I am fully aware of how much Ashley played. She's my sister-in-law. Love you though. You don't have to tell me what she did. I'm aware.
All right. Well, I appreciate Joe, Sam for coming on to break down the episode and your thoughts on your game, Sam. Maybe if you get time in the future, you might be back.
Never know. Never know.
You never know.
I'll lose my job tomorrow.
You never know. So I'll say, guys, be on the lookout. The next episode will be dropping tomorrow at 5:15 p.m. Eastern time, and then we will be back at 9 p.m. Eastern time to talk to the next person voted out of the game. Thanks again, Joe and Sam, for joining, Ryan and myself. Everyone else, have a good night.